دخل 1 2 اكتبي كيارا بسرعة. جنة جودة، جنة عشان في جنة. أسامة درويش، مريم، جانا وليد. Morning جانا وليد. جانا وليد. جانا can you hear me? حسن رحيم. جانا وليد can you hear me? Hello? جانا وليد can you hear me? ياسين. Guys, can you hear me guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you Yasin.
Osama.
Sorry, Osama. Yes, so in the room now we have Osama Darwish, Kiara, Janna Gouda, Mariam Al-Naqib, Osama Darwish, Hassan, Ruhaym, Jana Walid. Are you Garayhi or Osman? Jana Walid, your mic, please. And Yasin. Abdurrahman Baghdadi, Abdurrahman Walid, Yasmin Saeed. Welcome all. Jana Walid, if you can hear me, put your hand up, please. I'm not sure whether you're Osman or Garayhi. Jana, if you can write it in the chat or show me who you are. Jana. Okay. So, Yusuf Awad. Welcome, Yusuf. Can you hear me? طيب. Kiara, can you hear me? Kiara will answer me.
Yes.
Yes. What about the other guys? They don't answer. Jana Walid, are you Osman or Garayhi? Lady. Okay. If you remember, we did, today we're going to do literature. It was supposed to be grammar, but we are a lesson late in literature. We did the first speech by Patrick Henry. If you remember, we did it earlier this week. And we have a couple of questions about the speech. If you can have a look quickly to get ready for answering. Question 1. Can you see the screen, Yusuf Awad? Okay. Guys, look at the first question. If you had been in the audience, remember the speech? It was in something called the House of Burgesses, like the House of Parliament. And Mr. Patrick Henry gave a speech which supported the independence from the United Kingdom or the British Empire. He asked the other people to carry weapons and fight the British Empire, although this was very dangerous to his life, but he supported this idea. And 10 or 15 years later, the United States got her independence or its independence from the British Empire. If you had been in the audience, if you were a listener to this speech, how would you have responded to Henry's speech and why? You are, compared to the British Empire, the strongest country in the world at that time. You are asking your colleagues to carry weapons and fight against this really strong country. How would you have responded to this speech and why? I need your opinions, guys. Any answer is acceptable. Any answer is acceptable. Put your hands up and be active, please. If you do not participate, you'll not have the marks of participation again and again. Who's ready?
مستر ينفع تقول بس الكويشن تاني؟
Can you see the screen, Osama?
Yes.
Yeah, question 1. If you had been in the audience, which audience? The listeners to the speech we did yesterday or the day before? I don't remember. Okay. How would you have responded to Henry's speech and why? If you are ready, put your hand up. Nobody is ready? Hello? What would you do? What would you have done if you were in the listeners to Patrick Henry's speech? So, Janna Guda, can you answer? Janna? Lulwa? Janna Guda, can you answer my question? Are you there, Janna? Kiara, did you attend this session?
Yes.
Do you remember the answer or do you have an answer? Your
I don't
opinion.
know.
Just need your opinion. Type. Take your time, no problem. Lolo, I was asking your friends the question you have on the screen, question 1. If you were one of the listeners to the speech of Patrick Henry, how would you have responded and why? Lolo?
Yes, mister.
Did you attend the session when we took the speech?
No, I didn't attend the session.
Okay. طب Yasin, can you answer this question? Yasin? Yasin, I can't hear you. Hello? Hello? Okay, guys.
Yes, sir.
Do you have an answer? Yasin, do you have an answer?
مستر هو كتب الانسر في الشات.
Okay.
هو كتب الانسر في الشات.
I would have been touched and frightened. Yasin says, looks like there is a problem with his mic. I would have been touched and frightened. Sorry, there seems to be, okay. You would have been touched by the speech and frightened. But would you support him? Would you support him? Ali Gizi joined us. Ryan Anwar. Ryan. Okay.
مستر
Yes.
حضرتك كنت بتنده عليا؟
جنة جودة باين انت دخلت
لا جنى الجرايحي.
جنى الجرايحي، ما انا معايا جنى وليد يا جماعه، يعني تكتبي جنى الجرايحي يا جنى عثمان. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
جنى وليد الجرايحي right?
I'm sorry. انا بس المايك عندي ما كانش عايز يفتح.
No problem, but please write your name جنى الجرايحي. ايوه تمام كده.
اوكي تمام.
عشان اميز بس بينك وبين جنى وليد وعثمان. Thank you very much.
تمام ماشي.
I asked a question and Yasin gave me a general answer. If you had been in the audience, how would you have responded to Henry's speech? Patrick Henry's speech that we studied yesterday or the day before, and why? Yasin said, I would have been touched. Okay, would you take the opinion of Patrick and would you have peace and agreement with the British Empire, or you carry weapons and fight against them to have your freedom? Because the man said, we tried again and again, we did everything. We petitioned, we prostrated ourselves in front of the throne of the king, and we didn't get any rights. Okay, like what measures does Henry say the colonists have already tried in their dealings with England? We mentioned many things in the speech, if you remember. It was just yesterday, I think, guys. What did the colonists do to have some more rights from the British Empire or from England? Is anybody ready to answer? That's really bad, guys. And I have 14 guys in front of me and nobody wants to answer any question. I'm not sure. Okay, I'll move on to Franklin or Benjamin Franklin's speech. This is the second speech. Franklin, as you can see, was born in 1706 and died at the age of 84 in 1790. He is the author of Speech and the Convention. Speech and the Convention. The first speech was titled or entitled Speech in the Virginia Convention, and this is Speech in the Convention only. No other colonial American better embodied the promise of America than Benjamin Franklin. He was sure that America will be independent through hard work, dedication, and ingenuity. He was able to rise out of poverty to become a wealthy, famous, and influential person. In other words, he was a self-made man. Although he never received the formal education, he wasn't educated formally. He didn't go to school. Franklin made important contributions in the fields of literature, journalism, science, diplomacy, education, and philosophy. He was an encyclopedic person. He had encyclopedic knowledge. A persuasive diplomat. Franklin was a leader in the colonial movement for independence. Again, the colonists, guys, the colonists are those who wanted to get their independence from England. Okay, in 1776, as you know, this is the year that marks the birth of the new nation, the United States of America. The age of the United States of America as an independent country is 244 years. It started in 1776 until now. Congress sent him to France to enlist aid for the American Revolution. So the Congress sent Benjamin Franklin to France to ask for help. They asked France to help him to get their independence against or from England. Franklin's persuasive powers, he could persuade, he could convince the French king at that time, proved effective as he was able to achieve his goal. And France helped the colonists to fight England and get their independence. This turned out to be a pivotal, an important breakthrough achievement that may have been the deciding factor in the war. Yani without the help of France, the colonists wouldn't have had their independence from England. Okay? Guys, I just want to make sure that you are paying attention and listening to me. Please, if you are following up, put your hands up. Those who are following up, please put your hands up to check how many people are following. Ryan is following up. Yusuf Awad, Yassine, Kiara, Osama Darwish. That's it. But I have 5 people with me in the room now. Okay, thank you. 5 people out of 29. Okay. Helping forge a nation. In 1783, Franklin signed the peace treaty that ended the war and established the new nation. You know, there was a treaty signed between England and the colonists that gave the colonists the right as an independent country called the United States of America. The 13 colonies, you know, he returned home to serve as a delegate to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, you know, the famous city of Philadelphia. Philadelphia was the first capital of the United States of America. Before Washington, D.C. was built, Philadelphia was the first capital of the states in Pennsylvania. There, as politicians clashed over plans for the new government, Franklin worked to resolve conflicts and ensure ratification of the Constitution. he wanted to finish or be done quickly with the Constitution, because the Constitution is the guideline or gives the guidelines for the independent or the newly born country. In spite of his contributions in so many other fields, Franklin is best remembered as a statesman and diplomat. We said he was an educator. He was knowledgeable in many fields, but he is best remembered as a statesman, a politician, yani, and a diplomat, because, as you know, he was delegated or sent to France to have their help in the independence. He was the only American to sign all 4 documents that established the new nation. What are these 4 documents? What are the 4 documents that established the new nation? The Declaration of Independence, I think it was in 1776, the Treaty of Alliance with France, the Peace Treaty with England, and the Constitution. These are the 4 documents that established the new nation. He was the only person who signed the 4 of them. Okay, other people signed 3, signed 2, signed 1. Okay, he says here in a quotation, I confess, I admit that I do not entirely approve of this constitution at present. Although he signed it, but he did not entirely approve of it at that time. And you know, if we look at the constitution, I have a good question. I'll give marks for this question if you know how many amendments are there in the American Constitution until today. The American Constitution is there for 244 years since the time America got its independence from England. But there were some changes or amendments that happened to the Constitution. How many amendments are there to the American Constitution? If you know the answer, go ahead. Does anyone have an idea how many amendments, how many changes have been done to the Constitution? Ryan, if you know the answer, go ahead.
27.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
27 amendments until now. You know that last Wednesday, this day last week, thousands of people, tens of thousands, stormed into the Congress building, the Capitol, right? And it was thought that Donald Trump was the person who asked them to do that. Okay? Amendment 25 now says that the president can be impeached, can be kicked out of his job, okay, if he did something like that. The Democrats are trying. He still has about 7 days in power because he's going to leave on January 20th, as you know, midday. They try hard. They are trying hard now to impeach him before that day. Okay, why? Because in 2024, he said he will try to run for president again. But if he is impeached, he will not have the right to run again for president 4 years from now. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, speech in the convention. This is the speech itself after the introduction. We have just read Benjamin Franklin, background to the speech. Following the American Revolution, each of the newly independent states, you know that there were 13 colonies, right? Created its own constitution, as if there were 13 countries, 13 independent countries or states. While Congress was able to pass limited laws, it had no power to tax the states or regulate issues. The issue was complicated, such as trade, that were affected by state boundaries. These problems led to the Constitutional Convention. A convention is a big meeting, as you know, in 1787. I think it was in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Representatives from 12 states met to approve a national constitution. At the age of 81, maybe in 1781, Benjamin Franklin represented Pennsylvania. He was a Pennsylvania citizen at that time. He represented the state of Pennsylvania. Okay, and 12 representatives attended this convention. Mr. President, this is his speech on this occasion. Again, the title of the speech, Speech in the Convention, if you remember. Speech in the Convention. Which convention? The Constitutional Convention in 1787. Again, he attended it as a Pennsylvania representative. He's talking to the president of this convention. Mr. President, I confess that I do not entirely approve of this constitution at present, but, sir, I'm not sure I shall never approve it. For having lived long, I have experienced many instances of being obliged by better information or fuller consideration to change my opinions even on important subjects, which I once thought right, but found to be otherwise. It is therefore that the older I grow, remember the man was 81 when he gave this speech. The older I grow, the more apt I am to doubt my own judgment of others. I doubt my own judgment of others. I doubt the way I see others, okay? I think that this constitution is not perfect, but maybe I don't see it the proper way. Most men, indeed, as well as most sects and religion, think themselves in possession of all truth. You know, all religions claim that they have the only truth. Muslims think they are the only right people. Christians think that they are the only right people. Jews and so on. Even pagans, okay? And politicians are the same. Every politician thinks that his party, or if he is independent, is or has all the truth, okay? And that wherever others differ from them, it is so far error. That's wrong. Though many private persons think almost as highly of their own infallibility, they are infallible. They make no mistakes as of that of their sect, like their religion or their sect. Few express it so naturally as a certain French lady who, in a little dispute with her sister, said, "But I meet with nobody but myself that is always is the right. I think that I am, je ne trouve que moi qui toujours raison." Okay, in these state or sentiments, the man is affected by his life back in France, because he lived in France for some time and he was like an ambassador to France. But this is why he has this quotation from the French language. In these sentiments and these emotions, sir, I agree to this constitution. So he declares his agreement to the Constitution as a Pennsylvania representative, with all its faults. Although it has some mistakes, I agree with it. If they are such, if they are mistakes as I think. I have a chat. Abdurrahman Baghdadi. Okay, Abdurrahman, no problem. Okay, so, sorry. Because I think a general government necessary for us, and there is no form of government but what may be a blessing to the people. If any people has a government, even if this government is not a good one, this is the best thing for any people. A government with a constitution, even if the government is not a perfect government, even if the constitution is not a perfect constitution, if well administered, and I believe further that this is likely to be well administered for a course of years and can only end in despotism. And I think if we commit or keep to this constitution, it will be good for a couple of years, and then it will or can only end in despotism. Despotism means dictatorship. If we, in the future, God forbid, in the future, if we have a despot or a dictator, this will come to an end, as other forms have done before it. like all the other states. They make their own constitutions, and it works for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then comes a despot or a dictator who changes everything, who changes the whole constitution and makes tailors a constitution that is suitable for him. Okay? When the people shall become so corrupted as to need despot or despotic government, when the people themselves need to have a despotic, a dictator government being incapable of any other. I doubt too whether any other convention we can obtain may be able to make a better constitution. And this is the best constitution we could make at these circumstances. Okay, for when you assemble a number of men, when we gather a number of men to have the advantage of their joint wisdom, you inevitably assemble with those men all their prejudices. It's hard to gather such a number of people from such different states. Again, their passions, their errors of opinion, their local interests, and their selfish views. It's hard to gather such people again with all these differences and form a constitution again. From such an assembly can a perfect production be expected. We don't expect such a perfect constitution from these or people with these different backgrounds. It therefore astonishes me, sir, to find this. We have, this is Colombia, I think. We the people. These are, remember guys, you know this I think better than me. These are the first three words of the American Constitution. We the people, okay? We the people. Let's move on to the next page. This is the convention. Okay. This system approaching so near to perfection as it does, and I think it will astonish our enemies. Although, again, although this constitution has some, let's say, disadvantages, some demerits, some drawbacks, but it is, or it will astonish our enemies who are waiting with confidence to hear, you know, England didn't want to give these colonies their independence. For once they fight amongst themselves, England will be happy, and maybe some of them will need the help of England against their brothers and sisters, okay? But others want us to fail, who are waiting with confidence to hear that our councils are confounded like those of the builders of Babel, and they fought. This is something from the Babel is maybe Babel or something from the Bible, and that our states, the 12 or 13 states, are on the point of separation, about to get separated, only to meet hereafter for the purpose of cutting one another's throats, to fight. Thus, I consent, sir, to this constitution. I agree to it. I accept it. Because I expect no better, and because I am not sure that it is not the best. Again, it's not the best, but it's the best in these circumstances. Again, it's not the best constitution ever. But in the circumstances in which we are living now, this is the best thing we can do. The opinions I have had of its errors, I sacrifice to the public good. I think there are some errors, but I give up these errors, okay, because the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Again, I think that this constitution is not perfect, but the advantages of it outweigh the disadvantages. I have never whispered a syllable of them abroad. I have never whispered a syllable of them abroad. And outside our country, newly born country, I've never talked about any errors in the constitution. Okay, within these walls, they were born. my remarks are said, are expressed, are mentioned between these walls, within these walls only. And here they shall die. Okay? And here they shall die if every one of us, in returning to our constituents, if we return to our states, were to report the objections he has had to it and endeavor to gain partisans in support of them, we might prevent its being generally received. Hello. Each one of us had some remarks or some reservations against this constitution, some concerns. Let's express them all here and forget about them outside these walls. If every one of us goes back to his or her state or colony and expresses these remarks, the people will not accept this constitution. So let's not mention anything. We'll go back to our states saying that this is the most perfect constitution ever, okay? It's being generally received. Again, we might prevent its being generally received if we expressed or talked about the disadvantages in our home states, and thereby lose all the salutary effects or the beneficial effects and the great advantages resulting naturally in our favor among foreign nations. So let's not talk about the mistakes in our constitution outside these four walls, as well as among ourselves, from our real or apparent unanimity. Much of the strength and efficiency of any government in procuring and securing happiness to the people. So the government should work hard on securing happiness to its people. Depends on opinion, on the general opinion of the goodness of that government, as well as of the wisdom and integrity of its governors. And we are the governors. We are the important people, who decide for our people. I hope, therefore, for our own sakes, as a part of the people, and for the sake of our prosperity, that we shall act heartily and unanimously in recommending this constitution. I ask you all the attendees of this convention to heartily and unanimously. You know that the word unanimously means complete agreement. Here, unanimity, if you remember, unanimity means complete agreement. I want all the attendees to accept this constitution. Okay? It says here. So, wherever our influence may extend, and turn our future thoughts and endeavors to the means of having it well administered. We try hard to have this constitution achieved or administered, carried out. On the whole, this is a good expression to end your speech. On the whole, to conclude, in conclusion, sir here is talking to the president of the convention. I cannot help expressing a wish that every member of the convention who may still have objections to it would, with me on this occasion, doubt a little of his own infallibility, and to make manifest our unanimity, put his name to this instrument. Okay, I want all to express their unanimity or acceptance of this constitution and sign at the end of this document that they agree it wholeheartedly, okay, without being reserved or without any objections. I'll end the session now, guys, and see you in 5 minutes in the second session, inshallah.